Hey folks, Marty Nowicki from Impact Snap coming to you from the Turning Stone Resort Casino in upstate New York. Today's topic is, should I keep my head behind the golf ball? Note that there are going to be some circumstances where we actually want your head in line with or forward of the golf ball. A lot of times when I'm doing video review with a student, they comment on things that really are not all that important. If I'm hitting a wedge and they say, geez, shouldn't I be behind the ball? The answer to that question typically is no. Only because your center of gravity is going to be slightly ahead of the ball. With a wedge, you've got enough loft where if your head drifted forward or your spine actually tilted forward toward the target, that would help to descend, help the club to swing downward a little bit more. So if you have trouble taking your 54 or 56 degree wedge and drilling a nice low spinning shot, you want to make sure that that head actually is in line with or even slightly past the point of the ball. But if I did that with my driver, then we've got some real issues. So with a driver, that'd be the one time that I definitely want to see the head stay behind the ball. Think in terms of the lowest point of your swing being opposite the lead shoulder. In the case of a driver, I'm turning, my head is going to be a good 14 to 17 inches behind the golf ball. That puts my left shoulder behind the ball, which is telling me, okay, if my left shoulder is behind the ball, that golf club's going to be swinging upward by the time I get it. If I did that with a wedge, I'd be bottoming out too far behind the ball, hitting chunks and blades. So again, pay attention to where this is relative to the ball. Simple way of viewing this, if we were hitting a chip shot, we said, okay, somewhat of a narrow stance, ball slightly forward, I'll swivel my feet a little bit, I'll take my trail hand, reach for my lead knee. You'll see how that tilts my spine slightly toward the target and inherently puts my head in front of the ball. That makes it easier for the club to swing downward into the ball. Widen the stance for a driver, ball's now on the tee. Take that same hand, reach for the back side of your trail knee. You'll see how that adds a little bit of tilt to your right or to your backside, and ultimately that's going to help keep us behind the ball. So the one time I definitely want to see someone behind the ball, if we had a 3-wood hybrid off the tee, I'd like to see the head behind the ball. If it's on the ground, it will be behind the ball, but certainly not to the extent of a driver. With a driver, we're seeing tour players a good 8 to 18 inches behind the ball when they're making contact. With a 3-wood, we normally see somewhere between 3 to 7 inches behind the ball. Again, that will help the club to swing more level when it's near the ground. Chip shots, we want to see the head in line with or even slightly ahead. That way I can get the club moving downward into the ground. Driver, touch the back side of the trail knee. That adds some spine tilt to the side. One common mistake I do see is when I say tilt to the side, I don't want to see your pelvis go this way to get you to tilt to the side. We want to make sure that the pelvis stays between the feet in your setup and really throughout your swing. Okay, so here's a simple comparison. That's Jamie Sadlowski on the right and Indy Park on the left. One has a shorter iron, one is a long driver smashing his drive. So you can actually see, and we can measure, I know I throw out numbers, but I want you to see that the distance that Jamie's behind the ball, we'd have to estimate is somewhere near 18, possibly even 20 inches behind the ball. And big difference, you know, when we talk about should I keep my head behind the ball, In B moves her head behind the ball, but now is clearly has at least half of her head in front of the ball. Again, her chest is facing forward and down. That's going to help her to hit the ground right after the ball. So you'll see ball first contact, then some turf. So be careful, you know, when you say, geez, I need to keep my head behind the ball, because sometimes that is not the case. Okay, another example on the left is Tiger Woods hitting his stinger. You can see that clearly half of his head is forward of the ball, chest is turned, and pelvis is definitely turned forward of the ball. Chest right here is at least facing probably 12, 14 inches forward of the ball. The video on the right, this was taken 2013. He was hitting a 7-iron, happened to be here at Turning Stone. Clearly, he does have his head behind the ball. But that basically what that means, in order to hit the ground past the ball, look where his hands are. So if the head stays in line with the ball, it makes it easier to hit the ground here. Definitely have to turn and get the hands well forward of where the golf ball is. So if we had to measure, boy, the butt end of the golf club's got to be a good 8 to 10 inches past the point of the ball. Same thing on the bottom. Even though his head is behind the ball in that video, the butt end of the club is far enough past the point of the ball. And we've said in other videos that the low point of the swing is going to be underneath the left shoulder joint. So that's where the lowest point of the swing is going to be. So, you know, be careful. You know, you can keep your head behind the ball with an iron. If you do that, just make sure that your hands are far enough past the point of the ball so that we've got that nice forward shaft lean so that we can get your divot past the ball. I'm Marty Nowicki from Impact Snap, coming to you from the Turning Stone Resort Casino. Please hit the subscribe button down below, click the bell, and you'll get notices every time we put out a video. Leave your comments down below. That helps us to create more content for you.